And welcome to Inside Ogden. I'm Doug Jardine, along with your mayor, Matthew Godfrey. Happy Thanksgiving, although it's a couple of days removed.
Thank you.
You have
I'll
a good
take
one?
it anyway. Yeah, I had 2 of them.
Well, that's even better.
I thought so.
How did you work that and not gain any weight?
Ran a lot after Thursday.
Outside?
Yeah. Yeah, mostly. One day inside.
I need to get some tips on running outside. I ran outside a couple of days ago, but by the time it gets to about 42-ish, my body doesn't want to do that anymore.
Yeah, there's a saying that says there's no such thing as bad weather, just bad gear. So you need to go to the Solomon Center outlet and recreation outlet and buy some good gear, and then you'll be fine.
But not right now, after the show?
After the show.
All right. Well, it's a pleasure.
We'll make it a quick show so you can get over there.
It's a pleasure to sit with you, and we hope to get one of these shows more in before the end of the year, because on December 21st from 4 to 6 p.m., they're going to say goodbye to you here officially.
Yes. Yeah, apparently they had to squeeze me in around their vacations and holiday schedules. So it was kind of them to do anything at all.
But you knew that was going to happen. So
yeah.
we'll start with that. And just so the community knows, again, get your pencil and write it down. That's a Wednesday, December 21st from 4 to 6 p.m. right here at the Municipal Building, an open house to say goodbye to Mayor Godfrey. And I know that I'll be here, and my wife Terry, and it's been a great go, and I sure have appreciated our relationship, so thank you.
Thank you. I have as well. It's been a lot of fun, and I ask that the whole community be invited, and this not just be some exclusive crowd of friends or whatever. If there's anyone who wants to come and show up, and I'm sure there'll be a bite to eat, and I'd love just to say hi if anyone wants to come by.
That's a lot of baking for Monica, for the entire community.
Exactly.
Honey, what are we doing? Well, you're baking for all of Ogden City, honey.
Either that or everybody will get one Triscuit. One of the two, I'm sure.
One piece of cheese.
Yeah.
But that's a good day, and we'll be here. And I won't wax philosophical and cry until our next show.
Yes. Yeah. We'll prepare for that then.
Let's jump into some other things, and I want to make sure that we welcome also our viewers in Davis County, because we know that what happens in Weber County and here in Ogden City also impacts what happens a lot of times in Davis, and Bill Francis is making sure that our friends in Davis get to see this show as well. And I know that's important to have a good relationship with all the cities around where you live. So
we're very connected. A lot of people don't know that a lot of Davis County's economy is really feeds off of Hill Air Force Base. And Hill Air Force Base was created by Ogden businessmen. They went and bought that land, negotiated the deal with the federal government, and brought in Hill Air Force Base, helped get the legislation through to bring Hill Air Force Base to what is now well, I guess it's always been the Davis County area. So there's been a tie for a long, long time, and we should work together and be aware of what's going on in each other's community.
And Michelle King's from Davis County, and she's a nice woman.
There you go.
To the issues, if you don't mind, a couple of them before we talk about some other things happening. The last time you and I got together, it was a kind of a special show that we did because we wanted to address the issue of water rates. I know you took that to the City Council. What happened after that next meeting?
We did take it to the council. We asked for them to vote on it, and they did not vote on that issue and approve it. They instead decided that they were going to study it more. I don't know if they're going to hire consultants. It almost sounded like they're going to hire more consultants to come in and look at it, and they don't intend to make a decision on it until next budget. So that was disappointing, obviously. They didn't have any questions about or talk about a lack of information they couldn't have because we have answered all their questions, and it was disappointing because being overcharged, frankly, for your water, and you deserve to pay a fair amount. And I'm sorry that I wasn't able to get that through, and I tried to push it through, and hopefully something will happen next year. But you deserve to have that money in your wallets today, and so wish we could have made that happen, and I hope it does happen eventually.
And since the last time we spoke, there's going to be a new elected mayor in Ogden City.
That's right. We have not met since then. Wow.
No, it was right before the elections.
Yeah.
So how do you think the process went on the periphery as you stood there and watched things go down?
I thought it was a very respectful campaign, and I thought we had two great candidates, and Mike certainly campaigned well, and that was reflected in, obviously, the results. And he's a very gracious man, and we've had many meetings, and we'll continue to have meetings to make the transition as smooth as possible.
I wonder if they wrote a retrospective on that campaign, if they'd have 14 comments in the paper about what a bad campaign he ran.
Eventually, he'll have all that fun. Yeah.
And
right now, he's in the honeymoon period, and will be for some time. But eventually, the media and the people turn on you.
And I know that Bill and I will talk to him, and we hope to have him sitting here once a month as well, and we hope that he sees the advantage of being able to talk to us and answer to the constituency as well, because Mike is a good guy.
He is a good guy, yeah.
Let's talk. I've got a couple things here because I want to. This next Monday, everybody, and this will air all next month, but hookies and wedgies, sorry, they named it, not me, but you all want to have wedgies as soon as you can get them. This is a new company that's going to be opening up, officially anyway, in Ogden next Monday. Peekaboo Street will be in town, we'll be up at Snow Basin, and it's called Launchpad Gear. Two young entrepreneurs in Ogden, really with an idea that have both of these products the ability to literally turn on its head how you teach a beginning skier how to ski.
Yeah, a very impressive, as you said, young ski company, and if anyone's had to teach a kid how to ski, it is a miserable experience. I don't care how you go about it, and so these are patented, and I think they're going to do very, very well. They've already been selling on the internet, and have been very surprised at how many they've sold, how quickly, and all over the world. So they're going to be a great company for our town. They're going to be adding jobs and building new products. This is not all. They have plans beyond this. So.
And I have to, just because I should tell you when I'm involved with the company, and I have, because I'm involved with Ogden City, help them arrange their news conference for next Monday, and involved with Peekaboo Street, her coming in. And these guys, Scott Coleman and Brock Winsler, are so nervous about launching their company and this product, but you just got to sit back and say, way to go, guys, because it was Scott Coleman, and that's a little girl when you buy one of these. He was teaching her how to use these, and they hook on the back of the ski, and you control the skier from behind rather than being in front and skiing in front of them. But there's just a great entrepreneurial story for a young dad to invent something in his garage, be from Ogden, launch a company from Ogden, and it's another nice little fun thing to talk about.
Yep. One more great company to the portfolio, and they are great Ogden guys.
And then I wrote down there's another company coming in December, so who's that? Wait, it's going to be the same thing as it has been.
It is. I know. How many times have we been through this? Well, not this month. Next month we'll tell you. We hope all the pieces are in place to have this final announcement for a company. They'll be around 1,000 jobs, and so
initially.
Well, they'll ramp up.
Okay.
So they'll start. It's a couple hundred a year is what they add, so it doesn't take too long before they get up there. But it's a very impressive manufacturing company, which are really good to have in your community. Manufacturing jobs tend to create more auxiliary employment because they buy parts from other manufacturers in the area. So it's a great company, and we hope that they're going to announce here in December. We think we have it all put together, and I wish I could disclose. We've been working with them for a long time, and it's one that I want to finish up because I've been personally involved in this one to a very, very large extent. So I'm wanting to button this one up before I take off.
Well, that'd be great. And that goes along with some other new businesses, almost too many to mention, in downtown Ogden.
Yeah, there are a lot of, if you haven't been to downtown recently, you need to go, and there are a lot of new shops, and obviously there's still construction going on with the new buildings that I think we've talked about in the last show, but a lot of new retail stores have opened up, so hopefully people are coming down here to shop.
And they stay local. Buy Utah first, buy local first.
Yeah, and even if you can't find what you need in some of the small mom and pop shops, which we would encourage you to go and do, at least shop in our Walmart, and in our Shopco, and keep your dollars in your city. It makes a big difference. So we hope you'll come and try out. You really do need to go and just spend a couple hours wandering through the new stores that have opened on 25th Street in Washington and in the Junction and see what's there.
A couple of months ago, Mayor, when we got together, we talked about the initiation of some park renovations. What parks are involved? What kind of renovations? Really expensive. Where does the money come from? Ultimately, that question is going to have to be answered. But what are you looking at as far as park renovations?
4th Street, we did do the announcement with the new, really incredible playground that's there
fun.
With the partnership with Hershey and Nike and Play Space.
Yeah.
Design. So that's a great park that's helping to breathe new life into 4th Street, and we have plans to do other bigger things in 4th Street and other places around the city. And this really came about as I was in Little League football with my 2 boys, and we were traveling around to parks, and I saw the condition of some of our restrooms and facilities and realized that we had some real problems. We need to do some massive renovations to some of our parks. So we are putting together a renovation plan where we'll be completely redoing some of the restrooms, some of the pavilions, getting new equipment in, upgrading our facilities so that we have as nice or nicer parks than anybody along the Wasatch Front. So we need your help. As part of the RAMP grant, we need to show participation from others. We're going to be coming around to the communities and saying, we're going to put money in as a city. We're going to ask for money from RAMP, but we need you to engage as well to show that there's strong community interest in making these parks new again for another generation. It's been a generation. It's really the 50s is when, and maybe 60s when a lot of these parks were built or really renovated. There's not been a lot done since then. And so I want to get this done. This is another kind of final project that I want to make sure that our parks are going to be taken care of and renovated, and that our kids and grandkids will have facilities that they're proud of when the events roll around to different communities as they do in these competing sports, that we're proud to host them in our Ogden places, because I think right now there are a few of our fields that it would be hard to be proud of.
Well, and it's also an economic impact as well, because if your fields and your parks aren't ready to play, then parents take their kids elsewhere to play soccer and football and softball and baseball, and all of a sudden their lunch money is spent in other cities rather than right where it should be, because you don't have the infrastructure in your parks to help them.
Absolutely, yeah.
All right, well, that'll be fun. And what's the timetable on that? Obviously, that's not in a 1-year type deal. It's over several type years,
Yeah,
isn't it?
exactly.
Unless, knowing you, it'll be done by March.
It would be if I were going to stay, but there's no promises now. So the timing is that we have to put the grant together and submit it by the end of December. So we have to pull all the pieces together, and we'll get that done, and then it goes to RAMP for approval at the end of January. And then we'd receive the money in the construction season, spring, end of spring, early summer. And then we would start doing the renovations and move through those as quickly as possible. So it really could be a year from now we could have many of our, and it won't be all parks. Some of our parks are in pretty good condition. Many of them are in we have 42, and many of them are in good condition, but those that, and people know if theirs qualifies or not, we hope that a year from now we have all of our parks in really good shape.
I don't even know learning experience for me on this question, but if you designate an area as a park, do you automatically have to provide restroom facilities and that type of thing by statute?
You don't. You can have just open space as a park, which we do have. Some of our 42 parks do not have, I shouldn't say most. I don't know the percentage, but there are many of our parks, official parks, that do not have restrooms. And we need to add some. At our new park that we launched on the river, that was the first thing that people said. The playground is spectacular. They loved the area and the scenery. They said, we need a restroom. And so we do add to, that's one of the things that we'll be adding over time to the parks and be doing more RAMP grants for.
Okay, fantastic. I guess that means the kind of an easy transition for me here from what I have written down. But if people are coming together like that, that means they're united. Talk about Ogden united, because Ogden's becoming united, it seems, on more fronts all the time.
We've been working for 2 years now with a group of people leaders in the community, both from the business side and the government side, to work together for a plan for the Ogden School District on how we help the Ogden School District achieve and get where it needs to be. We believe that the Ogden School District can be and needs to be one of the top 10 school districts in the state of Utah. And
and I don't know where it ranks right now.
Not there, not even close. We're last or second to last in the scores, the rankings, most of the rankings that you do typically. We are confident that we have the plan in place and the people in place to make that happen. It's not going to happen by assigning it to one person or group and saying, you go make it happen. We have to engage as a community. Parents have to take responsibility for the education of their child. Some of that is cultural. Some people, they haven't grown up in a home where that was expected, that if the kids went to school and did well, great, and if they didn't, that's okay too. And so part of this is about building a new community expectation and saying, when you live in Ogden, you're going to have to educate your child. And if you don't believe in educating your child, that doesn't work for us. You have to be committed to furthering your child's education. So it's a very comprehensive plan. It really focuses on kind of the center point of this is using community schools, which in a very broad-brushed explanation is it uses the schools as a gathering place for the community, becomes a resource for the community and opens them up, where traditionally you just, school is where you drop your kid off and pick them back up, and you might have, basketball games there in the winter. But other than that, it's the school. It's just the place for education for that age group. And the idea is that the schools become a gathering place where people go for a multitude of reasons. And it really depends on the needs of that neighborhood. So you go to our schools that are underperforming and identify what is it that's keeping these families from not performing at the level that they need to, and using the school as that resource to help bring people together to help solve those problems. Once again, one of the things that I've advocated strongly for is not having government take over the role of the parents, which we're prone to do, right? If the kid isn't being fed, then we'll feed them. If they're not being mentored by their parents on how to read, well, then we'll read for them. And you have the government becoming the surrogate parents, and that's not the objective at all. There is a place, there are things that teachers and mentors do need to do to help these kids get the extra education. But as one example of how this would function, one of the things is developing a parent university where parents can go and learn how to help their child learn to read, even when they can't read, by the way, or help your child with their math homework when you don't understand how to do their math homework. Sometimes it's just discipline. There are some parents who just were not raised in a home where they understand the appropriate ways to discipline and motivate their children. So Parent University would teach classes that help give parents the tools they need to succeed, and in many cases, break them out of this cycle of poverty or low school performance. So the community schools model and this Ogden United model is about helping to solve the problem, helping to empower families, holding parents accountable, and raising the bar together as a community. So it's a very, very comprehensive plan, been worked on for many years. Weber State, Chamber of Commerce, Ogden School District, obviously I've been there, school board, the superintendent, and other people from the private sector. Workforce Services has been in attendance as well. So it's been a very collaborative effort saying, what do you need from us, school district? What are the goals and objectives, and how can we engage together in this strategic plan to accomplish the goals of becoming one of the top 10 school districts in the state by the year 2020. And I'm very confident that we have the right plan in place and that we're making progress. Since this has started, we can show, and we hope at the end of the school year to be able to demonstrate that we already have moved the mark and that we're on track to achieve this goal by 2020.
And you absolutely have to have a parent buy-in.
Yeah.
Or this won't work. I mean, are there also parents that have been at those meetings and part of discussions and that type of thing?
Yes, there is a parent component, and obviously many of us are parents as well as our other capacities, but that's been really important to us. and engaging the parents in the solution and helping them understand the problem is critical. The worst performing district in school in the district has now opened up their test scores to everybody. You go in there and you can see where they're at this week, where they've been, and you know where their goal is and if they're tracking to their goal. So the kids are involved, they know what they have to get to, the parents know, the teachers, everybody is on the same page in terms of the objectives and is working towards that common goal. And that's the idea on a macro level as well, is to get these goals out in front of everybody and help everybody engage in it is economic achievement, but academic achievement.
Well, academic achievement leads to economic and vice versa.
Yeah.
Is this a unique approach that Ogden's taking, or is this something that was templated in other cities that somebody here grabbed onto?
Community schools have been done in other communities across the country very successfully, and it's been one of the tools to revitalizing districts. What we did that was different was the Ogden United. So we have this coalition that put together a very specific strategic plan, meaning that there are clear goals and they're measurable. So we know what has to happen, by when, and who's responsible. And to my knowledge, there's no other district that's done that with a broad-based community group like we have.
Oh, that'll be interesting to follow.
Yeah.
It's dark outside. If you've been around the municipal building in the last couple of days, you've seen the lights. And Christmas Village happens every year at about this time. It's just it's a whole new world going up again. That's kind of fun.
It is, and we've talked about the progress of Christmas Village. And I wish I remembered the statistics, but 12 years ago there was something like a dozen villages out there, and now there's 50. I lose track. It's unbelievable, the growth of it. And this year they added a train, so you can bring your kids. It's then the Monument Plaza, which is right off the corner of 25th and Washington. Back in there's a little train. You can bring the kids, and after you've seen everything, they can get a free train ride in the municipal garden. So the committee, which is led by Joe Packham, have done such an incredible job of reinventing Christmas Village and finding new reasons and ways to bring your family downtown.
Well, Joe Packham's one of the more creative minds in all of the United States.
She is. She's a remarkable lady.
She never stops either.
No, she doesn't.
Maybe she should take a train ride and just sleep on a pillow or something.
Yeah, she's remarkable.
There was a newspaper article last week offering a retrospective on your time in office, and I wanted to and we'll do more next month. But I wanted to start because I have a chance to produce a television show on a weekly basis and talk to small business people and say, okay, here's your business today, but take me back when you wrote your ideas down on a napkin. And I thought, what the heck is wrong with me? I want to become mayor of Ogden. So I want to go back to the very first instant when you talked to your wife or whomever it was, your folks, and you thought, maybe I could do something for Ogden City. What was happening in your life, and why did you make the decision when you made it?
Well, I had fallen and hit my head, and was over-medicated.
No, that was just this afternoon there.
Oh, yeah. It's all a blur. I have a hard time remembering which was which.
You were young?
I was young. I was 28 when I when I went home and had that conversation with my wife. And I understand that if somebody looked at my family, they would think that I always had an interest in politics. My father was a council member in Ogden, or in Harrisville City, and became the mayor for 4 years. And my father-in-law has always been active and was a state senator. So you would just look like that was kind of a desired course, but it was never ever discussed. I never talked to my wife about ever having an interest in politics. It was literally, I came home one day and said, Monica, what if I ran for mayor? Just because I realized that my kids probably were not going to have the choice of being able to stay here if they wanted, because there were so many jobs that were leaving the community that it was hard for me. I realized that for me to stay here, I was going to have to do my own thing, have my own business, make my own way. There weren't a multitude of companies that I could choose from and stay in Ogden unless I wanted to commute down south. So I said, gosh, if my kids want to be able to choose to stay in Ogden, this town's going to have to change in a pretty dramatic way. And so I went home and made that speech to my wife and said, what if I run for mayor and try to make a difference and bring back the downtown and focus on bringing high-paying jobs to the community so that our kids, they may not want to stay here, but if they want to stay here, I want that to be an option for them. And we talked about it for quite a while, and it's a hard thing to. Who runs for mayor? Who leaves your career and runs for mayor? I mean,
because
it's
it
really
was
hard.
a promising career. Wasn't
No.
it? I thought
What,
you were
the
doing
mayor
finance.
job?
No, yours
Oh,
that
mine.
you had. You were just starting in business finance and stuff, weren't you?
Yeah, I had other career options, and,
Yeah.
and frankly, that were more lucrative than this job was. But that was kind of where our discussion went. It's like, who's going to run in that time? Who runs to be mayor? Unless you don't have a job, or this is like the best salary you could ever imagine getting, was becoming mayor. But if you want people, and I don't say that disparagingly. In fact, one of my great friends, like me, made a very hard decision, decided to run that first time. But it really is a difficult proposition, especially when the city was in such bad condition. Who wants to jump into that fray? But we said, we can risk. We're young, and if we lose the election, we're okay. We have our own business, and so I could run my company and run for mayor at the same time. And if I didn't win, it wasn't a big deal. But it was hard to imagine who else would have the ability to jump in and would want to risk their career to become the mayor of Ogden. So, from that, and then we realized that it was unlikely that we would win. I was 28 years old. Didn't have any experience doing a job like this. I had other experience in the business world and in leadership, but we realized it would be unlikely. But thought, well, maybe we can make a difference just in framing the arguments and crafting a vision for Ogden. Maybe that will be helpful in some way, even if we don't win. And so that's what led to us jumping in.
And I don't want to spend a lot of time on this because next month I will. I'll talk to you about specific things over the last 12 years. But I wanted you to tell me just about, and the folks before we go tonight, about your initial learning curve. What was it like, and how long did it take before, one, you felt like, okay, I'm in control of things here, and two, my staff sees that I'm serious about it and they have enough respect for me in the position and/or the position to at least accept some of the ideas that I have and move forward and work with the council? What was the learning curve like?
It was very challenging. It took a long time to understand how to make things happen in this environment. It still is hard to understand it. I don't know that I have it figured out now, even all these years later, how you make that work. So it was really hard stepping in here. We have a bunch of career guys. They were all in their 40s to probably 60 were the ages of my directors that worked for me, and I'm this young kid with no experience and was pushing a pretty dramatic change to where they'd been heading, and I knew that was hard for them to accept, and I could understand that. And we had to make cuts. We had to cut the budget, which meant we reduced a department head, and we let go people out of my office, people that were advising the mayor before me. And I'm sure it was really hard for the staff, and it was hard for me. And then politically it was hard. I came into an environment with the council that was really, really challenging in the first several years, and then I made a lot of mistakes early on. I think looking back, and who knows, maybe things wouldn't have been different, but I would do some things differently now. Based on my experience, but it was the darkest days were probably some of the days earlier on, the first 4 or 5 years, where there were some really tough times.
Well, I appreciate hearing the story, and it's been fun. 12 years, it seems like your whole life and seems like one day all at the same time.
It kind of does, yeah, in many ways that's true.
And we'll talk about that a little bit more as we get into. And I'll touch on the topics, don't worry about it, all the way from the golf course and gondola and Solomon Center and new business growth and all those types of things next month, because it'll be fun to hear your retrospective on those things.
And might we do a regular call-in show so they can even ask their own questions about the
We
last
want
12
you to
years
call
or
in,
whatever?
as always.
Yeah.
What's that number again, Bill?
We had to tape it this
We had to
time
tape this
because
one
it
day.
was an
It's
odd day,
629-8411. You'd think I'd have that after about 6 years of doing this. But next month we'll do this show, and we'll put it in the paper so you know the exact time and day of the call-in. And we'll take your questions. And it'll be fun to have the mayor answer those on the 5 days before
Yeah,
he calls it good.
it'd be fun to see if people call and say, "Why did you do this?" or "Why didn't you do this?" And I mean, you have nothing to lose. Why not call
in.
and ask?
Don't just write into the editor. Call in. He's sitting right here,
Yeah.
and ready to answer your question. Mayor, happy Thanksgiving
Thank you.
again
You
last
as well.
week, and Merry Christmas to your family. That'll do it for this special edition of Inside Ogden. Next month will be the last time sitting with Mayor Godfrey, and we hope you do call in. 801-629-8411. Until then, have a very pleasant good evening.